Welcome back to my reading corner, kindness corner, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, hope you guys are doing well. We ended on chapter 7 when they have arrived in San Francisco, and the Sea Raven um, did not win, and the Wild Bull of the Sea won the race. So that's exciting. And now they are in Gold Country. So let's see what happens. Chapter 8, Saved by a Whisker. In his pea jacket and stocking cap, Jack felt 14 years old at least, maybe 15. He stood in the bow of a whale boat and watched the long wharf come closer. They bumped against the boat stairs, and Jack was the first out. His heart raced with excitement of the moment. They had arrived. He was ready to start digging. "Not so fast, Master Jack," said Praiseworthy. "Don't forget your pick and shovel. And don't start digging up the streets. Folks might not appreciate it." A hilltop telegraph had signaled the arrival of a side-wheeler. Now it seemed as if all of San Francisco had turned out. The wharf was alive with men and women and children, not to mention dogs and mules and chickens and seagulls flopped in the air like confetti. Weighted down with their belongings, Praiseworthy and Jack started along the wharf. There were barrels and boxes piled everywhere. Peddlers and hawkers and the hotel runners mixed through the crowd and shouted at the newcomers, "Welcome, boys! Welcome to the fastest growing city in all the world! Flannel shirts for sale, red flannel shirts, gents. They don't show the dirt. Try the Niantic Hotel, the cleanest, best beds in town. Horn spoons. You'll need 'em at the diggings, carved from genuine ox horn. Stay at the Parker's house, none the better. The wharf seemed a mile long, with all the noise and the noisiest place on earth. Jack was dazzled by what he saw: tattooed islanders, and the Great East sailors, and silent Chinese with pigtails hanging behind them, with black chains. There were Mexicans moving about to the jingle of their heavy silver spurs, and Chileans in long serapes. There were mule skinners and businessmen, and there were miners in jackboots and red flannel shirts, with the mud of their diggings still in their beards. The city rang to the sound of hammers. Buildings were going up everywhere, and the sand dredger was pounding in the air. Men stood in the doorways of the shops ringing handbells. "Auction! Auction going on! Fresh eggs just arrived from Panama. Step inside, gents. Onions at the auction. 50 bushels just come in from the Sandwich Islands. And also calomel pills and castor oil and carpet tacks." Jack gazed out at the streets of wonders. There was a smell of mutton from the chop house and a sizzle of hot grease from the oyster shops. Suddenly, Mountain Jim stopped short. "Billy be hanged," he said, lifting his nose in the air. "Smell that?" Praiseworthy nodded. "It's strong enough to knock a man down." "Makes your mouth water, don't it?" "Not exactly. It's bear meat, real California home cooking. Good luck in the diggins, boys. I'm going to follow my nose." Following up the scent like a bloodhound, Mountain Jim crossed the street and turned into a restaurant. Before long, Mr. Azariah Jones dropped away, unable to resist the lure of the auction shops. Another moment. Praiseworthy and Jack continued along the boardwalk, which was hammered together mostly of barrel staves, and reached the United States Hotel. Captain Swain had recommended it. "A fine room, if you please," Praiseworthy said to the hotel clerk. And I think a tub bath would be in order. Very good, sir, replied the clerk. He was a bald-headed man with thin strands of hair combed sideways from ear to ear. That'll be $10 extra each. What's that? Praiseworthy scowled. We don't want to bathe in champagne. Water will do, sir. Champagne be almost cheaper, gents. Water's $1 a bucket, unless you want to wait until next November. Prices come down when it rains. We'll wait, said Praiseworthy with decision. In this part of the world, he thought a man had to strike it rich just to keep his neck clean. He signed the register, and Jack gazed at the bearded miner pacing back and forth across the lobby floor. He wore a floppy hat, and the chestnut hair tumbled out on all sides like mattress stuffing coming loose. He kept glancing at the loud wall clock as if every advancing second might be his last. Jack couldn't take his eyes off of the man. Tucked in his wide leather belt was a revolver, a horn spoon, and a soft buckskin bag. Gold dust, Jack thought. He must have got it from the mines. Ruination, the miner began to mutter. Ruination. Praiseworthy plodded the register. How, he asked the clerk, does one get to the mines? Riverboat leaves every afternoon at 4 o'clock from the Long Wharf. Fare to Sacramento City is $25. From there you make your way to the diggings by the stage, muleback or foot. Jack shot a glance at Praiseworthy. $25 each? Why, they didn't have that much money. But the butler didn't so much raise an eyebrow. We'll be taking the boat tomorrow, he told the clerk. Ruination, said the miner. Come along, Master Jack, said Praiseworthy. The walls of the room were lined with red calico, and there was china matting the plank floor. The window looked out on the shipping in the bay, the masts as thick as a pine forest. There were not only gold ships, but Navy freights and Chinese junks, and the going and the comings of long boats. But Jack wasn't interested in the view. $50 was just to get to Sacramento, he said. We'll have to walk. Good exercise, no doubt, but we haven't the time for it, Praiseworthy gazed out at the distant hills in the bay. Across the bay to Sacramento City was more than 100 miles upriver, he had heard, and the diggings in the foothills beyond that. Let me see. It took us 5 months to get this far, and it will take us another 5 months to get home. If we are to keep Aunt Arabella from being sold, we have 2 months left. 2 months to fill our pockets with nuggets. Jack found himself pacing back and forth like the miner in the lobby below. Ruination, Jack said. We've come all this way, and now we're no closer. Nonsense, said Praiseworthy. There was a pitcher half filled with water on the chest and poured a small amount into the washpan. We'll be on tomorrow's riverboat, I promise you. Now then, I suggest we wash up. Best we can, Master Jack. Wash, Jack thought. There wasn't time to wash. How will we pay for the fare? Let me see. We have $38 left. That's a start, isn't it? Of course, we'll have our room and meals to pay. But if I detect one thing in the air, it's opportunity. The sooner you wash, Master Jack, the sooner we can tend to our financial dilemma. Your Aunt Arabella wouldn't allow you to aboard on the streets with dirty ears and the sea salt in your eyebrows. And don't forget the soap. Ruination, Jack muttered again. He might as well be home in Boston. They washed and changed into the fresh clothes, and Praiseworthy gathered up their white linen shirts. They needed good starching and ironing. Praiseworthy had noticed a laundry sign a few doors from the hotel. It wouldn't do, he told himself, to see Master Jack turn into a ragamuffin. No, indeed. Miss Arabella would never forgive him. When they returned to the lobby, the shaggy miner was still there, pacing and muttering in his dusty beard. He glanced at Jack, a dark, sudden glance, and then the butler and the boy went out on the street. But as soon as they ambled along the boardwalk, Jack began to realize that the miner was following them, or it seemed for a moment. Praiseworthy turned into the laundry. I lost my spot. 1 second. Into the laundry, a mere wooden frame tacked with canvas, and set a bundle of shirts on the counter. How soon may we have these back, sir? Asked the butler. Very fast service, answered the laundryman. His pigtail bobbed as he bowed. How fast? 3 months, unless there's a typhoon. 3 months! Typhoon! The man was mad, Praiseworthy thought, or perhaps it was the entire city. We fully intend to leave by 4 o'clock riverboat tomorrow. Not possible, said the Chinese, bowing and slipping his hands into his flowing sleeves. We send laundry to China. It come back 3 or 4 months, all washed, clean, starch, iron, unless there is a typhoon. Take longer. No one do laundry here. Everything sky high. Cheaper to send to China. Praiseworthy picked up a bundle of shirts and gave Jack a look of modest defeat. Since we've managed without baths, I dare say we can do without starched shirts. Come along. They had hardly gone half a block when Jack saw the miner in a floppy hat once again behind them. The black pistol in his belly suddenly looked larger, but Jack said nothing. The miner could want nothing with them, nothing at all. He was still at their heels when the butler and the boy crossed the street. Now Jack was beginning to feel anxious, even a little scared. Finally, he took a look up at Praiseworthy. He's following us. Who's following us? Asked the butler. The miner from the hotel. Stuff and nonsense. The streets are free to everyone. But he's following us, Praiseworthy. Nothing to fear in the broad light, Master Jack. They continued along the sandy plaza, still looking for opportunity, and the miner marched right behind them. Excuse me. Must be another madman, said Praiseworthy. Turning, he stopped, and the miners stopped, and they stood face to face. Sir, said the butler, are you following us? I sure am. I'll thank you to go away, sir. No offense, gents, said the miner, but been on the verge of breaking in on your conversation, but it didn't seem courteous. It was hard to see his mouth for the fullness of his beard. They call me Quartz Jackson, and I just came in from the diggings. My fiancé's due in on the stage any minute, coming up from the capital at Monterey. We ain't never met, but we write a lot of letters, and that's it. And that's just what? Said Praiseworthy. We're supposed to be getting married. But, Ruination, when she takes a look at me, she's going to think I'm part grizzly bear. He whipped off his floppy hat, and his dusty hair fell out on all sides. She'll get right back on the stage for Monterey. But shucks, I ain't such a bad-looking gent. Leastways, I wasn't when I went on for diggins. I'm just a mite growed over, you might say. Well, I've been trapping every street in town looking for a barber, and they all lit out for the mines. Don't seem to be anyone left but the cheap Johns. Cheap Johns? Said Praiseworthy. Auctioneers, anyways. That's why I couldn't help staring at the lad here. Me, said Jack. Why, the yeller hair of yours looks fresh from the barber shop, all cut and trimmed. I figured you must have flushed out a barber. And maybe you'd do Quartz Jackson a favor of leading me to him. If Jack had feared the miner for a moment, he couldn't help smiling at him now. He liked the man. No, sir, he said. I haven't been to a barber, unless you mean Praiseworthy. Praiseworthy? At your service, said the butler. It's true, I've been cutting Master Jack's hair, but only out of necessity. The miner's face, what could be seen of it, broke into a sunny smile. I'd be much obliged if you'd barber me up, Mr. Praiseworthy. Name your price. But I'm not a barber, sir. I'm a butler. A what? I couldn't accept any money for merely... Well, now, that's mighty, white of you. Tell me what I'll do. I'll let you have all the hair you cut off. Praiseworthy and Jack exchanged fresh glances. The man was some sort of lunatic after all. What earthly use did they have for a man's shorn locks? But it seemed wise to humor him, and Praiseworthy said, I'll be glad to help you in your hour of need, sir. Consider it a modest wedding present. 20 minutes later, the miner was seated on a nail keg in the corner of the hotel porch, and Praiseworthy was sipping away with shears. Quartz Jackson insisted that every lock be caught as it fell. Jack was kept busy holding a wash pan under Praiseworthy's busy scissors. It worried him that time was wasting, and they weren't able to make their boat fare. But he knew it would have been impossible for Praiseworthy to turn his back on a gentleman in distress, even a peculiar miner like Mr. Quartz Jackson. My ain't the town grown, though, said the miner. Must be all the 4,000 or 5,000 folks in the place. You gents figure on going to the diggins? We do indeed, said Praiseworthy. I come from Hangtown. The boys have been locating a good lot of color up that way. Color? The yeller stuff, gold. If you head up to Hangtown way, tell 'em you're friend of Quartz Jackson. Tell 'em I'll be coming home with my bride in a couple of weeks. Sure is nice of you to shear with me this way. Would you mind trimming the beard while you're at it? Always itching, and I can hardly find my mouth to spit with. Young Jack, a bit of sideburn is getting away in the breeze. Wouldn't want you to lose any. Yes, sir, said Jack, catching a lock of hair. Quartz Jackson's face began to appear, snip by snip, like a statue being chipped out of stone. When Praiseworthy had finished, the miner turned to look at himself in the hotel pane. He had almost jumped out of his jack boots. By the GreatHornSpoon, he said, is that me? Quartz Jackson was obviously pleased. Why, I forgot I was so young. Quartz Jackson was a fine-looking gent at that, Jack thought. He had good teeth and an easy smile. Except for his revolver, his horn-spoon, and his red flannel shirt, he hardly seemed to be the same man. But what did he expect them to do with the hair cuttings? Stuff a mattress? Your fiancé will be very pleased, smiled Praiseworthy. Our congratulations on your forthcoming marriage, sir. Much obliged, Praiseworthy. You saved me from certain ruin. The least I can do is learn you how to work a goal plan. Water boy, you there? Fetch us a bucket of dew over there. The miner paid for the water by taking a pinch of fine gold dust from his buckskin pouch. Jack was easier to get the hang of mining, and Quartz Jackson, peculiar or not, was clearly an expert. Give me the washpan, Jack, young Jack. Jack handed over a tin pan piled high with chestnut whiskers and trimmings. The man wet them down with the fresh water and began to swish the pan around. Gold's heavy, he explained, nothing heavier. Even the yeller dust sticks to the bottom if you can't keep working the pan like this. Then he handed the washpan to Jack and taught him the motion. The water turned brown from the dirt mud that had gathered in the Quartz Jackson's whiskers and hair. Finally, he poured everything off, everything but a thin residue at the bottom of the pan. Jack's eyes opened like blossoms. Gold dust. Why, look there, the miner roared with laughter. The boy's panned himself some color. I figured I scratched enough pay dirt into my beer to amount to about $14 an ounce. Since I give you all the whiskers and all the gold is yours. Jack had never known more of an exciting moment in his life. The grains of dust sparkled like yellow fire, and there was even a flake or two. Half an hour later, while Quartz Jackson was having a $10 bath, Praiseworthy and Jack were plucking opportunity from the air. They put up a sign that said free haircuts, minors only. My sister is a hairdresser, and I am 100% certain she would love to cut golden beards. Anyways, that's exciting, and it seems like a good job for them to get their way possibly to Sacramento. It's cool that they mentioned Monterey, and I hope that you're enjoying this book. I am going to put it to rest for the night, and I will see you guys tomorrow in chapter 9. All right. Bye, scholars.